How does a scattered collection of tribes become a world-conquering empire? We're often told that history's greatest empires were built slowly, brick by painful brick, over centuries. But what if that's not the whole story? What if some of them rose with shocking speed, in a historical blink of an eye? The historical record shows a startling pattern, a kind of secret blueprint that allowed fledgling nations to burst onto the world stage. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden catalysts that powered the unexpected rise of ancient nations. First, try to imagine a world without nations. No sprawling cities, no organized states. Instead, picture small, isolated villages and nomadic clans scattered along rivers and across plains. For most of human history, this was reality. Life was a constant grind for survival, dictated by the seasons and the threat of your neighbors. Progress was slow, fragile, and could be wiped out in an instant. These early societies were stuck. Without a way to reliably produce and store lots of food, populations couldn't grow much beyond a few hundred people. There were no great armies or massive monuments, just the family, the clan, and the daily struggle to see the next sunrise. This was the ancient world's big problem, a state of permanent fragmentation. How could humanity ever break that cycle? The answer wasn't one single breakthrough, but a powerful combination of factors, a blueprint for civilization that would be discovered time and again across the globe. The first piece of the puzzle wasn't an invention or a big idea. It was a place. The story of almost every great empire begins with geography. Think about the cradles of civilization. Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers; Egypt, literally the gift of the Nile; the Indus Valley, fed by its massive river system; and ancient China, nurtured by the Yellow and Yangtze. These places weren't chosen at random. They all shared a critical advantage: incredibly fertile river valleys. The annual predictable floods of rivers like the Nile would deposit layers of rich, nutrient-packed silt, creating perfect farmland. In Mesopotamia, the unique rhythm of the rivers even helped with early irrigation. These were nature's cheat codes. They provided a stable source of water and soil so rich that farming became insanely productive. This geographical lottery ticket was the first catalyst. It offered a way out of the survival trap and provided the raw material for a revolution, a surplus of food. It was in these blessed lands that humanity first found the breathing room to build something bigger than a village. Having fertile land is one thing, but mastering it is a whole other challenge. The next catalyst was human ingenuity. The same rivers that gave life could also bring chaos with unpredictable floods and droughts. In some regions, environmental changes forced a choice: adapt or disappear. In Mesopotamia, as the climate shifted, societies had to innovate. They developed large-scale irrigation systems, vast networks of canals and dikes to control the water. This was a monumental task. It required thousands of people to work together toward one common goal. And that coordinated effort was more than just an engineering project. It was a social revolution that forged communities and laid the groundwork for centralized management. Meanwhile, the gradual drying of the Sahara pushed people closer to the banks of the Nile, concentrating the population and sparking new ways of organizing society. The result of mastering the environment was the single most powerful resource in the ancient world: a consistent food surplus. For the first time, people could produce more food than they needed to eat. That stored grain was power. It meant not everyone had to be a farmer. It allowed for the birth of specialists: soldiers, priests, craftsmen, and leaders. This surplus was the fuel for the engine of civilization. This leap from just surviving to having a surplus is honestly one of the most important moments in our entire history. It's the foundation for everything that follows. If you're enjoying this look into the patterns of the past, do take a second to subscribe and, hit the bell icon so you don't miss what we uncover next. With growing cities and more people, a new problem cropped up. How do you organize tens of thousands of individuals without everything falling into chaos? The solution was the third catalyst, a big unifying idea brought to life by a central government. This often took the form of a powerful new kind of leader, the king. A single ruler, often claiming to be chosen by the gods, became the center of power. In Egypt, the pharaoh wasn't just a king, he was seen as a god on earth, the living connection between his people and the cosmos. This divine authority gave the ruler the final say to command armies, collect taxes, and make laws. But to manage these growing kingdoms, rulers needed new tools. And so, one of the most significant technologies in human history was born writing. Cuneiform in Mesopotamia and hieroglyphs in Egypt weren't invented for writing poetry. They were instruments of control. They were used to track grain surpluses, record laws, send commands to distant governors, and run the complex bureaucracy that became the nervous system of the new state. This combination of a single powerful leader and an administrative system to back them up was the organizational blueprint for empire. Once the blueprint was complete, food surplus to feed everyone and a central government to organize them, the stage was set for the final phase: rapid expansion. For the first time, these new states could field and sustain large, disciplined armies. They had leaders to command them and a bureaucratic system to manage conquered lands. Some states, like the Neo-Assyrians, grew through sheer military efficiency and terrifying new tactics. The Mongol Empire, which came much later, leveraged incredible mobility to unite nomadic tribes and forged the largest land empire in history with stunning speed. Even conflict itself became a driver of change. The shock of the Hyksos invasion, for instance, spurred the Egyptians to adopt new military technologies, which helped forge their powerful and expansionist new kingdom. And it wasn't always about brute force. The Phoenicians built their power not with massive armies, but on a vast maritime trade network that spread goods, ideas, and their revolutionary alphabet across the Mediterranean. Whether through conquest, trade, or culture, these newly organized nations began to expand at a shocking pace, consolidating scattered tribes into unstoppable forces and redrawing the world map. But here's the thing about empires: they all fall. The very success that fueled their rise often planted the seeds of their decline, from overstretching their borders to internal power struggles. But their collapse wasn't the end of the story. The blueprint they created was their most enduring legacy. The organizational structures, the legal codes, and the technologies of these first great nations weren't lost. They were absorbed, copied, and improved upon by the next wave of rising powers. The Romans learned from the Greeks, who learned from the Egyptians and Persians. Each new empire stood on the shoulders of the giants who came before them. The stunning rise of ancient nations wasn't just a series of random events. It was the discovery and perfection of a powerful formula for turning chaos into order and scattered peoples into world-changing empires. So, what's the secret to going from scattered tribes to a major power in record time? As we've seen, it was never just one thing. It was a chain reaction. It started with the gift of a fertile environment, which was then unlocked by human innovation. That created a food surplus, which fueled population growth and allowed for new, centralized leadership. And that new organization, armed with tools like writing, was able to project its power like never before. This blueprint, environment, innovation and organization, is a timeless pattern in history. The technologies and titles may change, but the fundamental challenges of organizing a society and managing resources are still with us today. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Which ancient empire's rise do you think was the most dramatic? Let us know in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the patterns of the past, make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you in the next one.